Today, we're going to be talking about the advanced clock environment from Blue Pearl. To start with, we're going to load up the example project for the advanced clock environment. Once the design is loaded, what you see at first are some of the advanced techniques that we have to augment your design flow. We're going to turn some of this off so you can see some of what it is that we do for you. Now, one of the things we can do is automatically put derived clocks into the same clock domain. We've decided to turn that off to start with. And you can see, with our advanced clock environment, we have 9 clock domains and 9 clocks. In the display, each square box represents a clock domain. Further down, we have a list of recommendations for the full design. In this case, IP1_inst.clockD2 is a derived clock of CLK. The tool can also display a particular recommendation for the particular clock domain that you're looking at. In the current display, we have the arcs going from clock domain to clock domain. If you uncheck the appropriate checkbox, you'll see them go from clock to clock. We recommend that you start with it turned on. As you select a particular clock domain, you'll see the recommendations on a per clock domain basis. In the current display, derived clocks are separated because we turned that option off. And that is why each clock domain is separate. I'm going to go back and turn that back on so you can see some of the automation we do. In the updated display, you'll see some of the clock domains start merging. Now we're down to 7 clock domains. What this allows you to start seeing is how we start minimizing the number of clock domains you're working with. It's also possible to load in your SDC file to start out your design. But many times, the SDC file you're starting with might not be correct. When you select a particular clock, you can also look at the RTL. The output of our advanced clock environment includes an SDC file, and here you'll see the clock constraints that we create so that you can actually tell what we're creating and see how it's going. Now, you may want to filter the display and see where things are going. You may want to show derived clock interactions, and you may not. You may want to show the equivalent clocks. You may want to show interactions inside of a clock domain or not. Now, when you select from the table within a particular clock domain, you can see the actual DFF, and you'll cross-probe to the actual RTL, showing you the DFF interaction. Now, this is great, but one of the things that you quite often want to see is the particular CDC interaction that goes on. So what we're going to do now is leave the advanced clock environment and run the CDC. Now, when you run the CDC, one thing that becomes obvious is isolating clock domain crossings using CDC analysis is only as good as the input you provide. As you can see here, we have a lot of unsynchronized crossings. In this case, it could be because your clock domains aren't set up properly. So now we'll go back here and take a look at the advanced clock environment viewer. One of the things you'll see here is that the interactions between clock group and clock 2 group are all synchronized with 0 unsynchronized interactions. That probably means that they are separate clock domains. However, if you look between clock 7 group and clock group, there are 0 synchronized and 1 unsynchronized. Or here, 1 synchronized and 4 unsynchronized. And what mostly unsynchronized tends to mean is that while 1 was synchronized, the vast majority being unsynchronized means that they probably should be in the same domain. Meaning either that you have a lot of CDCs, or the logic was incorrectly synchronized or designed, so it could possibly be synchronized. So what Blue Pearl has done is allowed you to automatically detect clock domains based on the number of unsynchronized crossings. And you can adjust the percentage of unsynchronized crossings. The default level that we recommend is 80%. So therefore, what will happen is anytime there are more than 80% unsynchronized crossings between domains, it will automatically merge those clock domains for you. So we turn on the auto clock domain algorithm, rerun the advanced clock environment analysis, and when we restart the viewer, we'll see we're down to 3 clock domains. And what you'll see here is that clock foregroup went away. It was merged together here. You'll see 1 synchronized, 4 unsynchronized, just like the previous analysis. This allows us to get a much more accurate CDC analysis. You'll see here, the red crossings now stand out. These synchronized interactions are fine, but these 2 unsynchronized interactions lead us to believe that when we run a CDC analysis, we'll get a much more accurate representation of the problem. Now, when I go ahead and run full CDC analysis and view the results, I won't have to go through and sift through all the problem CDCs that aren't actually problems. And now, I can see the real issues and see my actual problems. Without setting up the clock domains accurately, your time will be spent sorting your real problems from the fake problems. Garbage in, garbage out. Your CDCs are only as good as your clock domain setup. Again, Blue Pearl Software's advanced clock environment is used to set up your clock domains properly. Without advanced clock environment, you'll be spending time setting up your clock domains rather than fixing your clock domain crossing problems. I appreciate your time. For more info, visit bluepearlsoftware.com.